Ladder 5, Tower 1, Bureau 1, Safety 1, Engine 10, Engine 5, Engine 3, Engine 1, Valley 252, and Battalion 2 have a ceiling fan on fire at 1331 Springwood Drive. Map is 32 Mary 3 will be on Fireground 3 for this.
10's on scene. Small one-story single family. It's going to be a working fire. Fire showing from the roof, A side of the street. 10 has command with 360.
Yeah, initially we were just dispatched to a ceiling fan on fire, and in my mind I wasn't sure if it was like a hanging ceiling fan, a whole house fan, or a bathroom fan, but regardless, what I was thinking was this could materialize into an attic fire. So my initial thoughts is we could have a fire that was limited to the attic. So as we arrived on scene, I confirmed what the med unit had stated. They said they had fire through the roof. We got out, and I did have fire showing through one vent, but no other vents. And my initial thought was we had probably an attic fire that was vent limited. If it wanted to show from one vent, it wanted to show from some others. So I went to do my 360. As I made it to the C side of the building, I took just a quick little look interior to see what we had working, look for victims and fire involvement. We had very little smoke interior, indicating that it was definitely above us. Nothing in the window wells, and we had some smoke showing from the eaves. So confirmed my initial thoughts that this thing was above us and working in the attic. My first 2 or 3 assignments that I made, Kelly did a great job. She pulled a line to the A side. I think she looked the size of the structure and where that fire was in the middle of the house, and so she did that without even being asked to, so she did an awesome job. The first assignment I gave was to the ladder company, people to search. I wanted to get them in as quick as I could get them out, obviously. And 2 to the roof. I wanted a roof assessment to see where that thing was working, how much attic involvement we had going. And then I gave Engine 3 water supply.
When we pulled up on scene, I heard command tell us that he wanted 2 inside and 2 outside. So I was driver that day and was assigned to go to the roof with my partner. And part of that assignment was to go ahead and wait before I cut the hole for further instructions. And I believe that was truly appropriate to do for an attic fire.
Good. My assignment when we first arrived was search. The captain and I went in and performed a primary search of the structure. It was fitting for this fire, as our #1 priority is life safety.
So the Ladder 5 crew made entry prior to us for their primary search, and they're the ones who indicated where the fire was. So they did a great job of reconning where it was, and prior to doing anything, they indicated that they needed a line in there. They didn't make any holes or anything like that. And so what we saw is just fire working in a ceiling fan from the bathroom, and we had fire coming out of it as well. Yeah, what drove my decision for the tactics I used? A lot of the research that we've been doing lately that's coming out of our training division really drove what I was going to do. There was a couple goals I had in mind. One, to keep it tight. I think that's one thing that's come out, that we have to keep that compartmentalized. Limited amount of water. We know from research now that we don't need a ton of water to put out these fires that are compartmentalized. And then 2 is just going to be a waiting game. It's a little unnerving when you don't have the ability to look at the progress you're making. You have to trust the science, and it worked really well. So the waiting game was definitely the most tough part, but I think by trusting the science and doing exactly what we've talked about, keeping things tight and introducing your suppression efforts with just a little bit of water, it all worked out. So that's what drove my tactics. They're not commonly used tactics at PFA. We've always opened up the roof traditionally. We've made larger holes to look at the extent of the fire. Managing it was difficult. I think even in the back of my mind, I really wanted to see what I had going on in the attic. I think I wanted a hole up top to kind of get an extent of what was going on up there, an idea of the extent of what was going on up there. So to manage that, we just had to work together as a crew and just trust that the decisions that we made based on the tactics that I just talked about, we're gonna be successful.
I was not surprised by the tactics. I think they were fitting for the conditions that we had. Became a little bit worried, I think, during the process because we ended up putting water on the fire, and then we sat on it for a long time watching conditions improve. But during that time, there's always a little bit of worry that something might be happening up there, and an attic fire getting away from you while you're just sitting there waiting.
It was most definitely clear what Captain Denny's plan was. We had just had a class earlier in that day on attic fires, and I knew where he was going and wanting to hold off on the whole vertical ventilation plan.
The indicators that we used from the inside of the structure were a tick. I got an attic ladder and got up in the attic a little bit and scanned the roof and underside of the decking and the whole attic space and monitored temperatures. They did continue to drop as we waited, so we felt like that the conditions were improving.
I just kept using my thermal imager to keep an eye on the roof vents. Being that they're metal, they take the heat a little bit more rapidly, and I never saw any heat increase coming off those with the thermal imaging camera, as well as just keeping an eye on the general situation up there.
The smoke started evacuating fairly quickly after we made the initial attack. We did supplement that with a fan at the door after a while. We discussed that. We decided to sit on it for a little bit, make sure the fire was out prior to putting the fan at the door. Once we did, it cleared out very rapidly, and we were able to get a better view of the inside of that attic.
I was extremely pleased with this fire. I don't think it could have went any better. It was I felt good walking away knowing that that house was intact and there was very minimal damage to it due to the tactics used on the fire ground.
I thought the overall outcomes of this fire were outstanding. We did a rapid attack on the fire. The best part of it is that we produced very little damage to the building compared to prior fires. We left the roof intact. We left a lot of the ceiling inside intact. There was very little water application, and to me, it felt like there was just less water damage than normal.
Yeah, my thoughts on the overall outcome, I mean, it went well. It was a little unnerving using tactics that we've never used before, but things that we've only researched really in a book or on the computer. One thing I've learned is we have to fight these fires much differently than a room and contents fire at a regular home. I used less than 5 seconds of water. Kelly was very disciplined, and we used less than, I bet you, 30 or 40 gallons, probably even less than that. And so that's different than what we've been doing before. Every step of the way, the truck company, myself, and Kelly, we always had a discussion, is this tactically necessary? Is the move that we're going to do right now make things better or worse? And I think that's the thing I'm always going to continue to ask myself. Anytime I try to employ a tactic, is it necessary? Is it going to make things better? So the overall outcome was great. I think we couldn't have done anything different for a better outcome.